Hey everybody, Who's Your Jedi here with another review for you. This time I'm talking about episode 12 of season 2 of Young Justice called True Colors. Overall, I think this was a very plot-heavy episode, and there are certainly quite a few balls in the air, but there are still some really nice character moments going on, some nice nods to the overall continuity, and hit shoutouts to the greater DC universe. So with that said, I've got my notes, I've got a nice beverage, so let's get right into it. We start off, of course, with seeing the Atom in action. Now, Ray Palmer had the Atom. He has popped up before, but he was just in sort of civilian scientist mentor to Bumblebee mode. Here we see him doing his thing as the Atom. The idea of going into another superhero's body and trying to fight something sinister going on there—that's one of the Atom's main shticks. There's actually my favorite moment with the Atom is he's helping Oracle, aka Barbara Gordon, aka Batgirl. She's got some nanites in her bloodstream, and she's swimming through her bloodstream. They're having this conversation about just how weird this is to be talking to somebody who's swimming around inside your body. And because he's the Atom, he's actually able to, shift through her cells and come out. And Oracle sort of says, I don't normally let people see my face. And the Atom goes, well, when I'm this size, normal people's faces tend to look like moons. And no way, that happened first. Then he went inside of her body. And while they're talking, he's like, he's actually flirting with her. And Oracle's a little weirded out by this. And he says to her, sorry, I grew up in a college town. I can't help but flirt with girls with glasses. And pardon the aside there, but I have to say that really is an absolutely hilarious and awesome moment for the Atom from Grant Morrison's Justice League run. That's not the only absolutely awesome moment that Grant Morrison gave the Atom in that run, but that's a conversation for another day. Now, what you may not have noticed is during the conversation, Atom briefly speaks to the Doctor, who's outside of Jaime's body, helping him out, and he refers to him as Cross. This is, I believe, Alex or Charles or something like that. Well, anyway, a doctor with the last name of Cross is also the second Dr. Midnight in the expanded DC universe. Yes, I believe it's Alex Cross, now that I think about it. Charles McNider was the original Dr. Midnight. Yeah, that's right. Okay, so the failure of the heroes to remove the Scarab from Jaime, that's certainly a big complication. I remember last week that I said, well, maybe them removing that might, set some things into motion that could really sort of bring about the Reach apocalypse. Well, this now makes that look a little bit more unlikely, but one of the great dramas of superhero stories is like situations like this where the hero is stuck with something, some sort of power or technology or whatever that is a detriment to their lives in many ways, but it gives us some incredible power. And then they're looking to for a way to get rid of it. Bruce Banner trying to find a way to stop turning into the Hulk being one of the classic examples. And of course, the writers love to do the delicious irony of they succeed in managing to get rid of whatever it is, but they have to take it back in order to save the day or save their loved ones or some stuff like that. It's a little bit of a cliche, but it's a proven winner in terms of drama and depth and characterization. And it wouldn't really surprise me if the show still went down that road in some form or fashion in a future episode. Just something to think about. Now, we get another wonderful performance from Tim Curry as G. Gordon Godfrey, and I have to say I really did get a big kick out of him using the specific words, the world's finest. If you're not familiar with the comics, World's Finest was basically DC's superhero team-up for many, many years. And even Superman and Batman are often referred to in comic book geek lingo as the world's finest team. Now, speaking of Superman, we get a brief appearance by Pa Kent. That's who I had him pegged as when he popped up touring the Luthor farm. And I was kind of wondering if they were just sort of going to leave that to us to figure out who he was. But no, of course, we get to see a little scene at the end where it specifically mentions who he is, and we get to see that, yeah, he's still got the whole thing of Connor Kent living on the Kent farm, which it is in keeping with some stuff that happened in the Superboy comics. There's actually a really great story where Raven visits Superboy at the Kent farm, and they have a very, very interesting conversation. It's actually one of my favorite modern Superboy stories. Tend to be a little bit more I tend to have a lot of good memories about the old Carl Kiesel, Tom Grummett Superboy comics from the 90s, but you know, but I completely lost my train of thought there for a moment, but I have found it. But seeing that though, the superheroes hanging out at the Kent farm, you kind of wonder just how much do they know about who Superman really is. Now, I'm guessing that the Justice League know that Clark Kent is Superman. But kind of putting that kind of information out there where potentially Blue Beetle could kind of figure it out. I don't know about that, but you could always just sort of say, well, we coincidentally slapped Superboy with the name Connor Kent. Superman has a good friend who's happens to have the last name of Kent. Or there is that big 5-year gap, so who knows what could have happened. But in any case, I definitely did get to kick out of Pa Kent. I'm one of those people. I actually prefer the Superman stories where he's alive. I think it adds a lot of depth to Superman to just be able to go there and just talk to his dad. It's like, here it is, the most powerful guy in the world's greatest superhero, and sometimes he doesn't need to do. What does he do? He goes home and talks to his parents and gets that advice. I mean, really, who wouldn't want parents like Ma and Pa Kent? But anyway, getting back to the main storyline, I have to say one criticism I have here is the idea that the team manages to successfully infiltrate this LexCorp facility by nothing more than hiding in the bathroom until after hours. I'm pretty sure that security guards make it a point to check bathroom stalls as part of their security routine, exactly to prevent this sort of thing. Now, nothing's flawless and nothing's foolproof, but you gotta think that these guys do work for Lex Luthor at the end of the day, so you think he's gonna hire people who know how to be thorough. Now, one thing I'm wondering is we do blatantly see security cameras in this facility. Now, if those images get out and onto the air, and I mean, this is Christmas for G. Gordon Godfrey. I mean, here it is, basically undeniable proof of young teenage superhumans striking out at a guy who the public, as far as they know, is a benevolent benefactor helping to end world starvation. And it's not going to be too hard to make a connection between these guys and the Justice League. Now, I think it's a little unclear exactly to what level characters like Impulse and Blue Beetle are known to the public at this point. Yeah, along with, of course. But I think that, who knows exactly whether or not people even think Robin exists. DC is always sort of notoriously contradictory on whether or not the public thinks Batman is just another superhero, or despite a ridiculous mountain of evidence, whether the people of Gotham just continue to write him off as some sort of urban legend, despite the fact that they live in a world full of superheroes. Whatever. Some things you just kind of got to go with. And I'm pretty sure one way or the other we'll get the answer to this very soon. Now, coming out to the plot with the Light. Gotta say, I'm really pretty intrigued by what's going on with Sportsmaster, and his little speech to Cheshire about honor demands this. I have to wonder, is wearing a mask like that really isn't that really going to be kind of a detriment when you're flying a helicopter? But you have to think, the look that she must have been giving him behind that mask. Yeah, that maybe that really was the smart move on her part, having it on then. But anyway, now we have Sportsmaster, who is satisfied honor in a way that I think even a Klingon would find questionable, and is going to be going out there trying to kill Black Manta, which, hey, that certainly sounds like a pretty cool fight. Now, of course, we do have the complication that Simon just might find out what's going on from putting Aqualad's mind back together. In fact, I think it's pretty safe to say that, considering that if that happened, things would really hit the fan. Well, let's face it, this is superhero comics. Things always have to completely hit the fan. But on the other hand, it would open the door to Aqualad getting back on his feet. Seeing him doing that would really give Miss Martian the kind of kick in the butt she needs to really get her head back in the game. So, silver linings. I also did like the fact that Vandal Savage and Black Manta do seem to share a genuine bonding moment, of all things, as parents. Now, if you're not familiar with the comics, Vandal Savage does have a daughter who goes by the name of Scandal Savage. Yeah. I love comics, but sometimes... But in any case, Scandal Savage, despite her somewhat ridiculous name, is actually a pretty cool character. Won herself a lot of fans on Gail Simone's run on Secret Six, which is some really very nice comics, and made use of another old 90s favorite of mine, the Superboy antagonist slash romantic interest Knockout. Really, really good stuff there. So if you ever have the chance to check out those comics, you'll definitely be using your time well. Now, we're also introduced to the Martian Blue Beetle, who I guess we will be calling Green Beetle. I did kind of like that somebody said, how many of these guys are there, or how many colors of these guys are there? I mean, it is true. We have blue, we have black, we have green. This is sort of heading into Skittles territory, Now, to the best of my knowledge, and I actually did go and I checked the DC Comics wiki about this. If this guy is a character from the comics, I wasn't able to find him. But the idea of a Martian with the Scarab powers, that's some pretty intriguing stuff. I really would not mind seeing somebody like that in the comics. And it certainly wouldn't be the first time that a character from the animated shows has made a jump to the comics. Case in point, Harley Quinn. And Chloe Sullivan made the jump from Smallville TV series to the actual DC universe. So anyway, we don't really have a whole lot of time to get a read on this guy. I think he is going to generally turn out to be somebody who is worthy of trust, and I'm really very intrigued by his presenting Jaime with a third option, because really so much of what's going on with preventing the Reach apocalypse does, of course, rest on Jaime's shoulders. So you have to wonder exactly, is this an example of the butterfly effect coming into play via Impulse having arrived on Earth? I mean, he does acknowledge that he is familiar, at least somewhat, with Mars. Wait, no, I'm sorry. That wasn't Impulse? That was Robin, wasn't it? I only had half of this. Okay, maybe I just need to pay a little closer attention to these episodes. Okay, now going back to the main plot at the LexCorp facility, we do get a reminder of Arsenal's vendetta against Lex Luthor. Get to see him sporting his new look. He's got that kind of crazy laser arm. Reminds me a little bit of Vash the Stampede from Trigun, if you're familiar with that anime series. Quite a good show if you're into anime. Now, I'm a little worried about what's going on with Roy here, but I'm a little more worried that Tim didn't tell Nightwing about that. And I can't help but think that this is really going to blow up in his face at some point. But, hey, we're all here for the drama, right? And this is superhero comics. If something could potentially blow up in the hero's face, you better believe that it will. Now, what's really, really intriguing about this episode is the final bit at the end with seeing the guys at the light and the way that little conversation they're having. And that got me thinking, if you really stop and think about it, does anyone think that guys like Lex Luthor and Vandal Savage and Black Manta are really just going to stand there and no matter how badass the Reach are, just let them take over Earth? I mean, sure, the Reach are probably offering the whole, we'll make you the Emperor of Australia shtick or whatever, a la Superman 2. So I want to clarify that. But again, you really think these are guys who are going to stand for playing second fiddle to anybody? I'm wondering if the Light are not playing a much bigger game, and that is basically use the Reach to help destroy the Justice League and then destroy the Reach, and that leaves them as the unquestioned superhuman powers basically to do with Earth what they will. And now, if you think about Lex Luthor and Vandal Savage and all of his buddies, that seems 100% like something they would do. And, hey, there's nothing quite like a good old-fashioned villains double-crossing each other. I mean, right? So, yeah, folks, I think we are in for some real twists and turns in this plot still. I mean, let's look at everything that's happened, and we're only about halfway through the season. I think, yeah, we're going to be in for some real surprises to come. And that's actually all I have for you this time around. As always, folks, please comment, rate, and subscribe. And of course, you can follow me on Twitter at Hoosier Jedi. Until next time, take care and have a good one.